Hello and welcome everyone. We are so excited to have you all here to participate in our 69th webinar organized by AABN. We are all aware of the challenges presented by the COVID-19 and the devastation we are dealing with economically because of pre-existing economic structural flaws and the interventions we require very urgently to build back better and have a better normal. Several speakers in this AABN forum have highlighted the role the business turnaround and recovery program that we must embark upon. Additionally, we have had speakers in AABN webinar address the improvement of competitiveness and sustainability of SMEs experience operational challenges. What I have outlined above is absolutely critical for our fortunes to change and cater inclusively for our people. Networking is an integral part of any event. With the events increasingly going online, our attendees have fewer ways to meet people and create contacts. There are still as many or even more ways to connect with people and form business relations online. Well, that's why we have organized this webinar so we can facilitate ample opportunities for our attendees to build their contact list. Hosting our AABN events online enables people from across the globe to participate in our event, irrespective of their location. And more audience means more knowledge sharing. It is imperative that every entrepreneur sharpens not only the productivity but also their ability to network as business people to win business. In today's market, this must permeate at all levels of entrepreneurs. AABN is collaborating with the industry leaders for an exciting webinar series which focuses on entrepreneurship, innovation, and education. Since its launch, we have offered 68 webinars. The business model canvas is one framework for sharing our story, for sharing your story or business model with potential investors. This strategic management framework was first developed by Alexander Osterwalder in the mid 2000s. The simplicity of the business model canvas is what makes it so successful. The canvas is plain, looking much like a billboard or whiteboard. It is comprised of 9 criteria that expresses the important character traits for a business story, ranging from who you know to how you make money to what you have. The canvas acts as an advertisement to attract business investors. Mr. Arun Subramanyan, Chief Mentor, VAC Solutions, is here in our midst to give us a primer on business model canvas, the key to success strategy. In this webinar, Arun Subramanyan will show exactly how to get started with the business model canvas, sharing some pertinent ground rules and some valuable best practices that he has learned directly from using the canvas in the field. It is now my pleasure to introduce you to Mr. Arun Subramanyan. Arun Subramanyan is a multifaceted individual with over 45 years of corporate experience, 26 years as CEO, a business leader and entrepreneur. As a senior management team member at several leading companies, he has built and managed organizations in the face of significant regulatory, technological and industrial change. These experiences have given him a ringside view of the shifting paradigm in business and the strategies that need to be employed to address them effectively. Having built multiple high-performing teams from the ground up, he has an unmatched understanding of leadership and teamwork and the importance of these two attitudes for success in the corporate world. He is also a very successful international master trainer whose program have participants in academics, business leaders, and professionals. He is a cognitive science expert specializing in training through implicit learning techniques, so very ideal for the online platform. Mr. Arun coaches and mentors teachers and trainers across the globe to drive implicit learning, looking into the need of people to retrain, upskill, and cross-skill because of the changing employment landscape because of the pandemic. Mr. Arun started the Train the Online Trainer program, Diploma D Master Trainer. Over the years, he has conducted numerous management development workshops featuring professionals from varied industries on design thinking, branding, team management, performance enhancement, change management, leadership, strategic decision making, value proposition, negotiation, conflict resolution, team and teaming, decoding the investor mindset, and many more. I would like to thank and acknowledge all the participants and the AABN core committee team who have been working tirelessly to make every webinar a truly successful one, like it has been in the last 19 months. I wish everyone a successful and fruitful webinar. I hope that today inspires ideas and discussions around the ways that we can make our entrepreneur ecosystem a better place. With a personality like Mr. Arun Subramanyan. You can go on and on eulogizing, but let me stop here and let the audience have the privilege of listening to you, sir. Thank you, and over to you, Mr. Arun Subramanyan.
Good morning, friends. Welcome to this webinar on the business model canvas. I take this opportunity to thank the core committee of AABN, Mr. Gopi, Mr. Balamurugan, Mr. Vaidishwaran, the moderator, Mr. Shanmugam, for having invited me to this August gathering to share my views with you. I hope you all have a pleasant and informative morning this 30th of January, 2022. It was the year 1985. I'm sure you must all have heard of Blockbuster. Blockbuster started out with a very viable business idea. His value proposition was clear, that is enabling consumers to watch hit movies from the comfort of their homes. Blockbuster established an extensive value delivery network with stores conveniently located in every corner of the country in the US. His first store opened in 1985, as I said, and it quickly grew to about 5,000 stores and an employee base of 60,000 employees. At the peak in 2002, its market cap rose to $5 billion. May I request the members to kindly mute? There is a lot of background noise and it's disturbing everyone. Thank you, friends. At its peak, Blockbuster in 2002 had a market cap of $5 billion. This was in 2002. And in 2010, it filed for bankruptcy. So what happened? Can any one of you unmute and tell me what could have happened which led Blockbuster to file for bankruptcy in 2010, when its market cap was $5 billion in 2002?
Reed Hastings Netflix.
Absolutely right. It was Netflixed. It wasn't as if Blockbuster didn't see Netflix coming. They were just so committed to their brick and mortar, way of doing business, they couldn't see or act beyond it. They were stuck in their way of doing business, and that pulled the company down. Just imagine, friends, if economic disaster can strike even an established company like Blockbuster with a market cap of $5 billion, what can happen to small or medium enterprises? That's a very, very valid question. Recent survey has shown that 70% of small businesses shut down within 10 years. In other words, 70% of all companies that started in 2012 have already closed and down their shutters, and the promoters have lost their money. And what about the balance 30? Survey shows that of the balance 30, only a few are able to scale up. In the US, in 40 years, a company scales up its employee base by nearly 35 times. In Mexico, it is about 6 times, whereas in India, it is only about 2 to 3 times. It's only about 2 to 3 times. The question is why? Indians are extremely hardworking. They are very intelligent, very ambitious, but still they are unable to scale up their business. What is the reason? Watch this video. What you see is 2 friends walking across a ground in deep conversation when one of them plunges into a ditch filled with water. Why did that happen? Why did he fall? He fell because of not being aware that there was a ditch in that particular spot. If he had been aware of the presence of the ditch, then as he was nearing that spot, his subconscious would have alerted him and he would have been careful. In the same way, business people make errors of not being aware of the nuances of the relationship between the various elements of their business. The very awareness of it will prevent them from errors in judgment and wrong decisions. So how can we ensure that such errors in decisions don't happen, that errors in judgment don't happen, and they become aware of the interplay of the various elements of their business? That is where, as Mr. Gopi said, Alexander Osterwald, a Swiss business theorist, business model canvas comes in. This is a tool that you can use regularly and govern your business by keeping abreast of the changes. You can take decisions at the right time to navigate your way through the ecosystem. The business model canvas is a strategic tool management template. It begins with the customer segment. Who is it that you have created the value proposition for? This answers both these questions. Which customer segment are you addressing? With what service offer? What is the channel of your reaching it to them? What channel you propose to adopt to reach the value to your customer? And this is followed by what sort of a relationship that you want to maintain with this customer. This is called the desirability part of the business model canvas. What is it that the customer wants? Who is the customer? What does he want? How are you going to create it for him? How are you going to reach it to him? And how are you going to address the relationship between you and him? The next step is, what is the revenue stream that you are planning? How do you ensure that you capture the value that you are creating for your customer? What key activities, what are the resources that you are going to capture, and what are you going to do with those resources? What activities you propose to do, and who are going to be your key partners through whom the resources and the activities are going to be planned forms the next part of the canvas. This is called the feasibility part. Can you deliver it? That is what this part answers. That brings us to the cost structure. What is it all going to cost you? In short, this is the viability part. In short, what you're going to answer is who your customer is, what is it you're going to be creating for him, what offering are you giving him, how do you propose to reach it to him, what sort of a relationship you want to maintain, what are the resources you require to create what the customer desires, what are the activities you are going to direct those resources towards, who are the business partners who are going to support you in the endeavor, what the whole thing is going to cost. This is what it stands for. That is your customer segment, the value proposition that you're addressing the customer segment with, the channels that you will reach them with, the relationship that you will build with them, the revenue structure that you will capture by giving all these to them, how you are going to deploy your resources, what are the resources that you require and how you are going to deploy them, what are the activities you are going to do with those resources, who are the key partners who are going to help you in it, and what it is all going to cost you. Let us see each one of them separately. First, the customer segment. So the customer segment will address geographically by region or area, demographically by age or area or gender, family size, income, life cycle. The psychologically, the social, class, the life cycle, the personality, behaviorally, the benefits and the response. Customers comprise of those people for whom you are creating the value. What is the economic, socio-economic consideration? This will be addressed next. There are multiple types of customer segment. You could be addressing a mass segment. Your product could be addressed to a mass segment where there is not much to distinguish between the value proposition, distribution channel, customer relationship. like in the case of a bottled mineral water or in the case of a regular electronic goods, it is a mass product. Or it could be a niche product where, you go in, like, these original equipment manufacturers for automobile industry. It is a highly specialized customer segment where the value proposition, distribution channel, and customer relationship are all tailored toward one particular market. Or it could be a highly segmented market. Some business models distinguish between market segments within them itself. Like in the banks, you could have a section of the bank addressing the masses, a section addressing high net worth individuals, and then you could have diversified segment, like Amazon very recently in 2006, from being a retail, it went into cloud computing, selling storage space, totally diversified market. Or it could go into multi-sided platforms like credit card companies. Credit card addresses on one side retailers who will use the credit card for them. They are one segment, and then the people who use the credit cards, they are the other segment. Or it could be newspaper type of a business, where advertising happens to be one segment who pay for them, there's the revenue stream, and the other segment is those people who buy the newspaper. So which market segment, what are the various market segments that you are addressing? Is it a single market segment or it is a multiple market segment? That will bring you to the next, is the value proposition. What value do we deliver to the customer? Which one of our customers' problems are we helping to solve? Are we clear about what it is that we are solving for the customer? What bundle of products or services are we offering to each customer segment? If it is a multiple customer segment, what is the offer that we have? Is it a differentiated? Are we very clear about it? And do we understand how it is changing over time? What customer needs are we satisfying? Has the customer needs changed? Lots of business models have collapsed during the COVID pandemic because the customer needs have changed. Disposable income has changed. The psyche of the customer has changed. What are the various characteristics in this? Newness. Are we satisfying an entirely new set of requirements? Masks were non-existent. Hand washers were very, very rarely used. Now, all these things have come into existence now. Performance. Performance is a standard which is used as a value proposition, enhancing performance of a product. Or customization. Customization has become a big thing today. Technology has taken over the customization market. You can customize your product for an individual or for a segment. Third is design. Design is very popular in electronics industry and in garment industry. What is it you can offer in terms of design? Cost reduction. This is very popular with the masses. How can you reduce the cost of what they are doing, of how their services are being conducted? If you can reduce their cost, it will be very big. It will be a big advantage for you. Risk reduction is another thing. For instance, used car companies today are offering 1 to 2 years of warranty and guarantee. That helps you to decide that at least, there is no risk if I buy this car for the next 1 year or 2 years. Risk reduction is another major value proposition that can be given. Accessibility in a wide country with sharp divides between rural and urban areas, like in India, accessibility is a very big challenge. Distribution networks are a big challenge. And then you have got convenience and usability. How convenient is your product to use? Are you helping your customers understand how to use it? Providing this convenience and providing information about the usability in a much more clear manner would also be a value proposition for your customer. That brings us to channel. Through which channel do our customer segments want to be reached? This is a very critical question in front of suppliers today, manufacturers today. The COVID has totally changed the way we do business. Channels have been uprooted. How are we reaching them now? What is it we can do to better reach them? How are our channels integrated? Channels are not just for reaching to the customer. Channels are also meant for communicating. Channels are also selling channels. Your channels are consumer touch points that play an important role in the customer experience. Your channels serves various functions. Raising awareness among the customers about a company's product and services is one of the ways the channels serve you. Helping customers to evaluate a company's value proposition is another way you can use the channels. You can take feedback from them. You can create a co-creation opportunity through your channels. Not only delivering value proposition, but also post-purchase customer support is another wonderful way of using your channels. Which one works best? Which one are the most cost efficient? And how are we integrating them with the customer routines? These are questions which you need to ask when you are thinking about channels. More often than not, companies ignore the channels through which they have an interface with their customer. That brings us to the customer relationship. We can distinguish between different types of customer relationship which may coexist in a company's relationship with a particular segment. What type of relationship does each of our customer segment expect us to establish and maintain with them? Our customer relationship should not be governed by what we want, but rather how the customer defines the type of relationship he wants. Which one have we established? What of our relationship do we have currently? What do we need to do so that we can optimize it and leverage it? How are they integrated with the rest of our business model? Do we have the partners to support it? Do we have the resources to support it? Are we conducting the correct activities which are directed towards establishing a good customer relationship? How costly are they? And finally, the customer relationship is called for by a company's business model because it deeply influences the overall customer experience. So what are the different types of customer relationship which exist? It could be transactional. They just buy, you sell, and that everything ends. The second could be a long-term relationship where you maintain details of your customers and you are in constant touch with them. It could be one where there is a personal assistance, where you help the customer. Bankers have if you can't handle it, can combine with self-service, as in the case of Amazon. You can even have communities. Communities are a very good way of establishing customer relationship. Many companies today have communities. Novo Nordisk, for their insulin sales, they have communities of diabetics who are taking their insulin, and then, there they interact with each other and with the company specialists and take their health care forward. GlaxoSmithKline is another company which is doing it for its weight gain product. There are many companies who are doing it. Then there are, co-creations. Like, in Amazon, they have got the rating system where they ask their customers to help them decide how they should take their services forward. And then finally, you have got the switching cost relationship. Airtel uses it a lot. If you want to subscribe, subscribing for Airtel is extremely easy. Unsubscribing is difficult. They create a cost for unsubscribing, and halfway through, you lose interest, you continue your subscription. So, switching cost is another way you can do it. Most companies who have subscription base, they have a switching cost attached to it so that you can't leave them once you are through with them, Then you come to the revenue stream. Revenue stream derives from selling. There is a lot of ways you can have revenue stream. Unfortunately, most business enterprises, they focus on just one or two revenue streams. They don't explore the possibilities of others. For what value are our customers really willing to pay? What is the value that they are paying for? Have we tried to find that out ever? What is it that they value about us due to which they are paying? A customer doesn't buy a product, he buys a service. So when he buys a service, there is some value to that service for which he's paying. Second thing is, for what are they currently paying? How do they currently pay? And how they prefer to pay. There has been a lot of change in the market recently. How much does each revenue stream contribute to the overall revenues? If you have got multiple revenue streams, have you done an analysis as to which revenue stream is the most profitable for you? Which one are you currently pursuing, which you should pursue? There are various ways of generating a revenue stream. One is asset sale. You just sell a product or a service. That's all. You get it. The second is usage fee. You allow the person to use your product and you charge a fee. Telephone operators is a usage fee revenue stream. Then there is a subscription revenue scheme, where the person subscribes to you, like Zoom platform is a subscription revenue stream. They subscribe to you, and as long as the subscription continues, you continue to get money for it, and there you have got the freemium model. Some amount of the services is free, and if you want a better service, you got to pay for it. Then you have got the lending, renting or leasing revenue stream, where you can lend your product, rent your product, or lease your product for a certain period of time and collect revenue on it. Then you have got the licensing model. You give the license for your product for a particular period of time, and then you take the money from them for that. You can have a brokerage fee. You brokerage between different people and collect the revenue for it. Then advertising. You can use others to use your product to advertise that product, and in the process create a revenue stream. Which one or which all are you using currently, and how they are bringing you revenue? Have you checked it? Have you checked what are the various opportunities available in what? That brings us to the key resources. The key resources segment has got 4 aspects to it. What key resources do our value propositions require? What key resources do our distribution channels require? What key resources do our customer relationship and the revenue streams require? There are 4 different types of resources which a company requires to be able to carry out its activities. The physical, that is, physical means assets such as manufacturing facility, building, vehicles, machine, system, point of sale system, distribution network. All these are physical resources. Physical resources normally are very costly. The second is your intellectual resources, intellectual properties, brands, proprietary knowledge, patents, copyrights, partnerships, customer database. These are all becoming extremely and increasingly important resource for any company today. The third is your human resources, where you require, an enterprise always requires human resources, but people are particularly prominent in certain business models, not in all, where knowledge is very crucial. in a creative industry. Pharmaceutical companies require human resources for their selling team, for their product management team, for their research team. These are all human intensive, models. Then you have got finally the financial resources. We all know that companies are run by finance, cash, lines of credit, stock option, pools for hiring people. All these are resources, financial resources, which company can use. What is it that you have at your disposal? That brings us to the key activities. All these key resources are directed towards key activities. And what are the three main key activities? The three main key activities are, what key activities do a value proposition require? Is the question which you answer with that. They are production, problem solving, platform networking, marketing and sales. Number one, production. We all know manufacturing requires a lot of specialization. The operation of consultancies, hospitals are problem solving activities. Your the platforms like Amazon, Alibaba, Netflix, Flipkart, these are all platform activities. The type of resources required, activities required are very different in these. The resources required to man those activities are very different. That brings us to the partnership. Partnership is very important because you need to carry out your business very effectively. Every company cannot have everything with them. They will have to look outside for optimizing their operations. Optimization, economies of scale, the most basic form of partnership is a buyer-supplier partnership. What sort of a supplier do you have? Who are our key partners? Who are our key suppliers? Which key resources are we acquiring from our partners? What are they giving us? Which key activities do our partners perform for us? What is the motivation for our partnership? Why are we maintaining our partnership with a particular person? What is our motivation? Is it professional or personal? The main thing, categories: production, problem solving, platform network. Again, these are the places where the partnerships are most required. First is, optimizing and economies of scale. Outsourcing many of your manufacturing function is a very key thing for economies of scale. If you have to put up a plant for the size that you want to grow to, there might be a lot of money involved, but if you can outsource it to a partner who you can trust and who will be able to give you the quality product, that can be a wonderful partnership. Reduction of risk and uncertainty. Many companies who are depending only upon themselves have got into trouble during the COVID pandemic. But if you were not one of those people who are totally depending upon yourself, then this problem would not have hit you that much. The gig economy, the rising gig economy is another proof that reduction of risk and uncertainty is coming to play a very, very important role in the partnership segment of the business model. Acquisition of particular resources and activities. You can acquire certain resources and activities for a certain period of time. You can lease out units. You can lease, support. Your auditors are another excellent partners for you. Small companies who cannot have an internal audit system. Everyone knows that 26% of the revenue generated by a company goes away in waste. Now you can plug that waste. If you can, for a price, get your external auditors to do an internal audit for you on a monthly basis and show you where the leakages are occurring, you can plug that waste and in the process enhance your profitability. You can work through this key partnership model, the segment of that model, and ensure that you profit from it. That brings us to the cost structure. Types of costs such as naturally cost should be minimized in every business model, but low cost structures are more important in some business models than others. Therefore, it can be very useful to distinguish between two broad classes of, cost structures. One is cost-driven business model, and the other is a value-driven model. What are the most important costs inherent in the business model? Which is costing you the most? What is the key resource? Which key resource are most expensive? Once you identify where the real cost is, maybe you can do something to replace it with something else which is less costly but equally efficient. Which key activities are most important, most expensive? Is your business more cost-driven, leaner structure, low price value proposition, maximum automation, extensive outsourcing? These are all strategies to reduce your cost. Or value-driven, focus on value creation, premium value proposition. You can either reduce the cost of manufacturing the product, or you can enhance the value that you are giving by keeping the cost same and ensure a higher margin. Fixed costs, check. What are the salaries, the rent, the utilities? Variable costs, economies of scale, economies of scope. Can the same process system which is in place be used by some other product for a better value proposition? Then the economies of scope increases, cost comes down. The question is, how do you use the business model canvas to strategize your movement forward or to identify growth opportunities in your business ecosystem? If you don't know how to use it, then it remains just a theory. All of you know all these things. But the question is, how can you use it? Or should it remain just a theory? What did Alexander Osterwald think when he created this business model and when he identified these 9 segments? Let us briefly look into some of the fundamental opportunities that immediately a business model can bring to surface. First one, use the customer segment area as a market explorer. How to unlock new market potential? The market explorers in the customer segment, you can unlock markets, find out which are the markets you are currently operating in, with the value proposition that you have in your hand. What are the areas where you can enter, unlock completely new, untapped, undeserved markets which have huge potential? The channels can show you how to radically change the way you are reaching your customer so that you can create more customers. If you can see how you can radically change the way you are reaching your customer, the way you are reaching the value to your customer, or the way you are communicating with your customer, or the way you are servicing your customer, that will give you an idea as to which are the markets you need to explore further and unlock those markets. A combination of a change in the channel combined with the current value proposition can give you an idea as to which are the markets you can explore further. Oftentimes we don't experiment with our channel, and thereby we continue to operate in the same area and the limited area, and over a period of time, the law of diminishing return starts kicking in and you start losing customers. With all these 3 in hand, you can create gravity creators. How to lock in customers, how to ensure that your customers stay with you. Maybe you can create a switching cost by which they would not be willing to go, or you can make it costlier for them to leave you and go to a competitor. You can create a relationship matrix by which they will stay with you. This is called the front stage disruption, a radical change of how value is created. This, on the other side, You can use your key partnerships to create economic moats wherein you will be able to ensure that your competitors find it difficult to invade into your market. You can build a competitive advantage, that way ensuring that you are safe. How to differentiate with innovative activity? Whatever activity you are currently doing, how can you radically change those activities to perform better and combine them to create and deliver better value to your customer based upon a better value proposition? What is it you can improve in your activity which possibly could bring down the cost and time of your production, of your reaching the goods to your people? And that brings us to the third one, scalers. How to scale in new ways. Whenever we have to scale our operations, we think of the patterns, very similar things we continue to think. We keep thinking in terms of putting money, investing, expanding, new geographies, new products. But is there any other way you can scale? Think about it. You know your business better, you know your market better, you know the utility of your product and the value proposition that you have better. Think, how can you radically change new ways of scaling so that it becomes easier? This is the backstage of disruption, a radical change in how value is created. On the right hand side, you have the front stage where you are addressing the market. And on the other side, you have the backstage where you are addressing what is happening within the organization. From within the organization, through the partners, how you can create a moat, an economic moat, an entry barrier for your competitors. How you can work through the various activities that you are doing. If you can break down your activities, you will be able to identify where it is that there is a scope for improvement. To scale your operations, what are the things you can do other than what is normally done so that you can scale your operations? If you don't plan to scale, then you have already invited problem. As someone rightly said, you have to run faster to stay in the same place, and you have to run extremely fast if you have to move forward. That brings us to the cost differentiators and the revenue differentiators. How do you boost revenue? How do you better capture value? You are capturing a certain amount of value for the value proposition that you are giving. How can you better capture value? Is your value capturing going to be just SOS, or are you planning a recurring revenue stream from a single point of sale? Can you by any chance create a bait and hook? In order to generate recurring revenue, you have to create models where a single point of sale will keep bringing you revenue from the person, and a bait and hook will generate revenue, like in the case of Gillette, where the stick is a very low cost, but the blades are very high cost. Like that, what is it you can do? Can you be a freemium provider, where you give something initially for free and charge for the rest? Can you subsidize some part of your product or services, which will bring in better revenue? What are the cost differentiators? Where is it that you can kill the cost? What sort of resources can you change so that the cost of those resources will come down and create a much better cost differentiation for you as compared to the competitor? What sort of a technology can you use to radically reinvent your business? All these things you can sit down and analyze for a better business proposal. Then finally, the margin masters. How to boost margin in creative ways. Higher margin than competitor by focusing on customers, what they are willing to pay for, identifying that oftentimes, our focus is on our product, very less on the customer. Customer preferences are changing every day. because the market is getting commoditized at a very fast pace. Any product which comes in today, in no time it is commoditized. In other words, the customer has got multiple choice with the same type of product which he requests to fulfill his services. So what is it we can do so that we can get our customers to pay for the services that we are giving? How we can reduce the cost of that service while increasing the value of what we are giving to him. These are called the profit formula disruption, a radical change in who is targeted and how value is delivered. This can be an excellent way of doing it. In other words, the front stage disruption addresses how we can unlock new markets, how we can access new customers. Remember one thing, retaining customer is very important because a new customer costs you 7 times more than the existing customer. But you cannot rest on your oars. You have to unlock new customers and keep moving forward. There, we keep thinking of various other ways, but we never think of channel as being one of the ways we can unlock our customers. How we can improve the channel of our communication, how we can improve the channel of our selling, how we can improve the channel of our services by which we can enhance our market penetration. Gravity lockers. What strategy can we apply to lock in existing customers so that they don't leave us? The backstage disruption is all about building economic moats. How do we stop our competitors from entering into our market? The moment you start selling, you surface in the radar of your competitor. The competitor will ignore you till you don't have sales. You may think that you are an anonymous entity and silently selling, but please be rest assured that the moment your sale reaches a respectable level, your competitor will be all eyes on you. So it is absolutely necessary that you create an economic moat by which you can prevent him from entering into your market. Then you have the activity differentiators. How do you better configure your activities so that you can create a better value proposition at a lesser price? You have to constantly be working on your activity configuration. How do you better reconfigure it? And finally, how can you scale and grow faster? You have to grow more than what the market is growing at if you have to be relevant in the market. Growth is a must. If a child does not grow, what do we call it? We call it disabled. We call it underdeveloped. We pity it. In the same way, if a company is not growing at the pace it should, it is not a good thing. We should not allow that to happen. And then you have the profit formula disruption. How do you boost your revenues? What is the revenue stream currently you're working through? What are the revenue streams you can explore? How you can ensure that the same value proposition can get you through different revenue streams what you deserve? What are the costs? How can we kill those costs? What is the thing which is costing me the most? Is there a way of replacing that cost by something more economical so that the value proposition that I am giving can be given at a much lesser price to me so that I can generate more profits? Then margin boosters. Generating profit is what the name of the game is. How do we generate more margins without compromising on the service or the requirement of our customer? We all know about Apple. When Apple introduced iPhone in 2007, it didn't set out to sell a phone because Nokia and BlackBerry were selling fantastic phones at that time. And Apple knew that Nokia and BlackBerry were unbeatable in their game. They had taken a huge lead, and to try to catch up with them would be foolhardy. So Apple changed the rule of the game. It set it sidestepped the battle. It redefined the market it was in. It did not enter the phone market. It did not create a phone to compete with the leaders, Nokia and BlackBerry, because they realized it would be hard to beat them in that game. So Apple created a smart device that was also a phone. Apple created something which could surf the net, which could take photographs, and in the process also be used for speaking. It created a smart device and bet Nokia and BlackBerry hollow. Nokia, who are the leaders, had to sell off the company to Microsoft because it became unviable. BlackBerry, as you all know, a couple of months back, has stopped its operations. And Apple continues to rule the roost as a leader in the mobile phone market. The same thing happened. That's all history now, but the same thing is being repeated by Tesla. When Tesla introduced Model S in 2012, it didn't set out to sell a car because Audi and BMW in that segment were already selling fantastic cars. They were unbeatable. So Tesla changed the rule of the game. It stepped aside, in the battle. It redefined the market it was in. It did not enter into the phone market. It did not create a car to compete with the leaders, Audi and BMW. Tesla created a smart device that was also a car. And it has now reached the top. My dear friends, the business model is a wonderful thing through which you can beat the market hollow. You can beat your customers hollow. As entrepreneurs, as business leaders, as owners of your company, your job is more conceptual. It is unfortunate that many owners are totally hands-on in the shop floor. They spend their maximum time there, whereas they should be spending 90% of the time on the drawing board, understanding their business and seeing how it can be reconfigured, scaled, and driven. There are three different types of businesses. Businesses can be categorized in three ways. One is a customer relationship business. The other is a product innovation business. The third is an infrastructure business. Not that they are all cut and dry. There are many gray areas here. And most businesses are a combination of these three. But one of them will be predominant in any type of business. A customer relationship business is all about finding and acquiring business and building relationship with them. There could be a portion of product innovation business and infrastructure business also in that. The product innovation business is developing new and attractive products and services. And the infrastructure business is all about build and manage platforms for high volume repetitive tasks. All these could have a portion of the other two also. But knowing which one you predominantly are will help you to understand the critical aspects of your business and to create a business model which will be in tune with it. The three core business types, as we have seen, are the product innovation business, customer relationship business, infrastructure business. And the three areas which are important to these businesses are the economic, cultural, and the competitiveness. Let us see one by one how it stands so that it will help you to build a business model canvas which you can handle very easily. In the economic segment of the product innovation business, you need to enter the market early, charge a premium price, and acquire a large market share. Speed is of key here because the product will be commoditized very soon. Because before the product gets commoditized, you have to charge a premium price for that new product, which is new in that market. Nobody else is there, and you have to acquire a large market share. If you delay, if you're not fast, the product will get commoditized. Your cost of creating the product and entering, you will not be able to recover. In the customer relationship business, there is a very high cost for acquisition. Makes it imperative to gain a large wallet. Again, volume, number of customers is very important here. And retaining them is very important. Because if you are going to lose customers at the same speed at which you are acquiring them, it will not work. The economics will not work. In the infrastructure business, there is a very high cost of the infrastructure involved in it. So you have to ensure that the cost of your infrastructure is very low. Economies of scale is very key. And economies of scope and what sort of a partnership you develop. Many of these companies, communication, mobile companies like Airtel, Vodafone and others, they share their tower because everywhere they can't erect a tower. Where Airtel has a tower, they rent it to Vodafone. Where Vodafone has a tower, they allow Airtel access. So it is a co-opetition. While they are competing on one side for customers, on the other side, they are cooperating for tower space. In culture, product innovation is all about a battle for talent. That's a very low entry barrier. So you will have to think of how to retain people, what sort of a culture you can create. Many small players thrive and small players pay a huge amount. So what sort of a stock option or a bonus or a performance bonus, what do you give to your employees so that they stay with you, and what sort of a culture you are building for your company? That is very important. Attrition can play havoc with your company in a product innovation business. In customer relationship business, the battle is for scope. Rapid consolidations, a few big players dominate here. So how you can use the same channel for multiple products, that is very important in the customer relationship business. And again, in the infrastructure business, battle for scale, rapid consolidation, and how players can cooperate with each other. Competition, employee-centered. In product innovation business, you have to mollycoddle your key employees. If they leave and go to the competitor, you lose very key component of your business excellence. Highly service-oriented. Customer comes first mentality is a must. You should be willing to cut your corners if you are interested in ensuring that if you are in a customer relationship business, you continue to maintain the lead. In infrastructure business, you need to be totally cost-focused. Standardization, predictability, process efficiency, all these are very important. Amazon is keeping on moving forward because every day it's improving its services, its reach, its contact with its customer, its predictability. All these things are very, very high with Amazon. That is the reason why it continues to be a leader. Let us see one company which benefited a huge amount by working through the business model. I'm sure you all have heard of ID. This is a company which was started in Bangalore. During the pandemic, when all companies were hit very seriously, ID decided to do away with all its premium products. It canceled all its premium products and totally focused on just two items, idli and parota. And they decided to reach it through multiple supply points, which they created across the country. And what was the outcome? 35 crore idlis were sold in 2020. 10 crore parotas were sold. 4.3 crore chapatis, 2 crore cups of coffee during the lockdown. Outcome, my dear friends. Revenue was up 23.5% from 238 crores. For the year 1920, it went up to 295 crores in 2021. And what is the amount of goodwill it has got? Very recently, some days back, a few days back, I think a week back, they have got 507 crores from a hedge fund as financing to scale up their operation and put up new factories in Hyderabad and Goa. That is what can happen to you if you decide to work through your business model and take decisions at the right time. On your turban, you must be having a telephone. As much as a telephone is a must on your turban, as a business leader, as an entrepreneur, and as the boss of the company, I think a business model is also a must. You should have the business model canvas, and you should spend at least 15 minutes on it every day. With these words, I thank the core committee for giving me an opportunity to address you. Thank you, friends. I'm open for questions. I can be reached on this number 93840-978-66. Whatever questions you have, I'm willing to answer now. If you should think of any question afterwards, you can contact me on 93840-978-66. I'm also available on WhatsApp. Thank you.
Participants, you can ask your questions.
Yeah.
Unmute and ask your questions, please.
Yeah, Mr. Subramanyan, this is Vishwanath.
Yes, Mr. Vishwanath.
It was excellent. In fact, one of the most professional presentations we have encountered in AABN. My thing is, one question I already posted is in customer relationship, you didn't mention about incentivizing customers to bring in more customers. That model you have not mentioned anywhere. There are such companies, large companies, I don't want to say the names, by experiencing the products and sharing with others, they in turn introduce new customers or new users, and unfortunately it has got a bad name as if it is a pyramid scheme, but these companies have been existing for over 50 years. And they have done extremely well, $8-9 billion. I just thought I should mention one. My second thing is, I'm trying a business model where I can franchise a part of my manufacturing, because I want to create entrepreneurs. Basically, the value I am looking is, if you create more entrepreneurs, for me, Ray Kroc is a big I'm a fan of Ray Kroc. So if I can if I can find people to manufacture, franchise manufacturers, I'll also be doing I feel I'll be doing some good turn for my my fellow engineers, because they can set up shops and I can give them the technology. I am into manufacturing underground storage tanks and septic tanks. They are ubiquitous and recession free. As long as people drink water or use toilets, we'll be in business. And there are requirement, there's no branded tanks. I mean, septic tanks are not there. So there is a huge business opportunity. So this is a model I'm conceiving. I want your comments on that.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Vishwanath. A tremendously good observation. Now, you see, what you are talking about is the referral model. Now, let me tell you, what I have spoken about is a very standard business model of 9 verticals, 9 segments, which are separate, which are segregated into 3 parts: the desirability, the feasibility, and the viability. What you are talking about is a referral model that is also there. The multi-marketing, multi-level marketing model is also there. And what you are talking about, franchisee, is creating of business partners, key partners. It will come under that. You see, in an hour, it is very difficult to talk about everything. We have to be very selective about what we can speak about. You are absolutely right. These things are there. Anyone interested in understanding, as I told you, there are 17 different types of business models which are operative. One of them is the platform model, which has taken the world by the storm today. You have Uber, you got Amazon, you have got Alibaba, all sorts of companies are now coming up using the platform model, where they don't have any asset other than the technology which they use to create these platforms. Now, you see, franchisee, what you are talking about is comes under the partnership segment of the business model. Yes, you can definitely explore it, where you can, give your technology, your what expertise you have got, you can share it with others for a percentage in return. And then you can use it. That could be one of the revenue streams. Another revenue stream is you making the product yourself. The third revenue stream could be possibly, getting your technology outsourced. Others who want it, they can get it manufactured through you. The fourth possibility could be you go rent out your product. The fifth possibility could be, if you have got spare capacity, you can lease out a portion of your spare capacity. It is endless, Mr. Vishwanath. If you sit down with the business model, I can tell you the opportunities are endless. As someone rightly said, the mind is like a parachute. The more open, the more safer you are as you float around.
Thank you, sir.
Don't just block yourself with a Ray Kroc model of franchisee. Since you are a manufacturer, and as you rightly said, as long as people need to drink water, thirst is there, and defecation is there, underground tanks could be there. And I would not say that this is permanent, because the way things are changing, who knows what will happen next? We never know. See, some person might come up with a solution to not drinking water and not defecating. Anything could happen tomorrow. But as of today, you're absolutely right. There is no doubt about it. But what I would suggest is keep the business model canvas on your table, work through it. There are lots of possibilities in it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Vishwanath, for your question. Yeah.
Yeah, please go on. Huh? You can unmute and ask your questions, please.
Can I come, sir?
Yeah, please go on.
Yes, Mr. Anil.
Yeah, I am Anil Goswami from Haryana. So my question is, so in future, are we anticipating, in spite of, especially in housing sector, in spite of outright sale, to leasing the houses? So because people may prefer to get the house on leasing in spite of investing too much money in one go. Thank you.
Anything can happen. You see, recently during the COVID pandemic, one particular builder who had lots of unsold flats, and the real estate being in doldrums, companies, he had a lot of commercial space, but then companies starting work from home, office spaces not being occupied, companies being doubtful of whether they will call their employees back to work from the office. All these things, there was a huge amount of uncertainty involved in it. So he approached me to ask me what can be done. Can anything be done? So I had made a suggestion to him. I said that, look, one thing you can definitely do is, since you have got very high premium flats with you, and if it is not selling, you are in deep trouble. It's costing you money every day. I said, why don't you do one thing? Rent out these flats at the market price. Give the option to the people who take on rent. If you want to buy at the end of 3 years period, whatever rent you have paid during this period, I will take it as an advance from you, and at the market value on that date for that product, the balance you pay and take. It worked.
Thank you. Thank you.
So you see, everything depends upon how well you can handle the business model canvas.
Correct.
You see, there is
so
no point in sitting and saying, no, I will not change myself. Don't.
Yes.
The world is changing. Just because you don't want to change, the world is not going to remain where it is.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, may I come in, sir? Please.
Yeah, please go on, Sanjay.
Sir, this is M. Chidambaram, one of the participants of Arun Sir's diploma program for 6 months. Sir, as usual, Arun Sir, knowing you, it was 90 odd people were thrilled by your knowledge and experience. My only question is, looking at the way education is going, many primary schools are locked down there, and even middle schools. So what is your suggestion? How do they at least maintain? Only online is there, but is there any other alternative from your side, sir? Please.
You see, as I was telling Mr. Chidambaram, things are changing. Companies were depending upon explicit way of teaching, where the teacher used to stand at the head of the class and deliver a lecture, and the students were checked on how well they remember what has been spoken. But this is not going to work anymore. They will have to go in for a hybrid model. Possibly they could have a combination of online and offline for the time being, but ultimately as things appear, things are going to go totally online. Whose schools will have to prepare themselves for it. Other than the hybrid model, as Mr. Nagesh has put, there is no other way out. Things have changed. There was a time, we hear during the Ramayana period that there was a Gurukul. People went to the Gurukul, left their home at the age of 6, came back after the education. Things are not happening the same today. The way things have changed from then, now it will change forward also. Change is the only constant. Change is going to take place. Schools will have to wake up to that fact. Already 2 years students have lost. How long will they continue losing?
Sir,
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Hello?
Thank you for an
Yes,
excellent presentation.
please allow the participants to ask, please. Yes,
May I ask a question, sir?
please.
Go on, Sanjay.
Yes, sir. Sir, an excellent presentation, sir. So my question is, sir, this model, can it be applied for a large global companies as well? And when you are scaling up of these 9 elements, which are the critical elements which are blocking those scaling up factor?
Okay. There is nothing called a large company or a small company. All companies are the same. Who is more important? A 1-year-old or a 50-year-old? Life of both is equally important. So, there is nothing like large and small. The second question is, supposing someone were to willing to pay me 10 lakh rupees, which part of my body would I be willing to give away?
Okay.
Which part of the model, the 9 blocks, can you sacrifice and do your business? Can you sacrifice your customer segment and do the business? You can't.
So which are critical, sir?
Can you sacrifice the value proposition and do the business? You can't. Can you ignore the channel and reach your value to the customer? You can't. Can you compromise on the relationship with your customer and do business? You can't. Can you ignore the resources which are required to do the business? You can't. Which activity will you be willing to subdue and do the business? You can't subdue any of the activities. And one tree does not a wood make. Plenty trees are required, only then there is a wood. So business is all about partnership. When you are giving value, you need to capture value. That is the basic purpose of the company. So revenue streams are important. And all these are done at a cost. So cost structure is important. There is absolutely no segment of the business model which an entrepreneur can afford to ignore and expect to grow. He can't. It's not the done thing.
Right, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Sanjay.
Sir, good afternoon, sir.
Yes, yes.
Sir, how to retain the customers per current scenario?
What sort of a business you are in will decide. Second thing is what sort of a relationship you have with him will decide that. If you have not maintained a good relationship with him, if you have not concentrated on a customer relationship, suddenly one day you wake up, it will not happen. The customer is like you. You are also a customer to some company, isn't it? Will you be with that company if during your difficulties that company has ignored you? You will not be with that person. So similarly, see, that is why customer relationship is very important. That is why in customer relationship, the gravity factors have come in. How do you lock in the customer? What is your relationship with the customer? Are you willing to go that extra mile to hold him back with you? You stretch your hand first, then expect him to come forward. If you are not going to stretch your hand, no one is going to come forward. One of the things which I've always been telling my business friends during the pandemic is, you are sitting cooped up at your home. Stop thinking of what will happen. Start reaching out to all your customers and suppliers. Give them the support. Tell them you are there so that when things become normal, you will be the first person who will come in their mind. People spend their time worrying. But when you have time, spend it building your business. And the best way to build business is gaining customer confidence. If you have nothing else to do, build confidence. Reach out to him, talk to him. You got a phone, use it, talk to him, tell hello, ask him how his family is, how his business is going, how you can be of use to him even in these difficult days. Everything will work out. They will stay with you. They are also humans. They appreciate concern when shown to them. Plus, whatever your business model is, see how you can ensure that you create a cost to the exit strategy. Stop other customers from exiting your business.
Sir, may I ask one more question, sir?
Please.
Sir, you had shown a graph of American companies and Mexican companies growing faster than Indian companies.
Yes.
So compared to your that last matrix which you showed, economic, cultural, and environmental, and the competition. So where exactly the difference? I mean, which areas are we lacking? I mean, why can't we grow so fast?
I will tell you. So, Mr. Sanjay, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Sanjay, when you fall sick, where do you go?
To the doctor, sir.
Please don't mind. I sometimes ask stupid questions.
Yeah, I recently went also.
Allow me the privilege of age. Okay, so when you fall sick, you go to the doctor, right?
Yes.
So when you have a legal problem, where do you go?
Yeah, to the advocate, lawyer.
Advocate. When you want to build a house, where do you go?
The architect.
Architect. But when you want to start a company, where do you go? You go to your wife, you go to your friends, you go to your parents, you go and talk about it to your relatives. Tell me one thing. What do you expect your wife to tell you when you go and tell her that you're going to start your business? How do you expect her to help you? How do you expect her to advise you? Do any of us really go to a chartered accountant or to a business consultant to find out, discuss with him what sort of planning we should do so that we can start a good business? We don't. That is why this happens. We take all the money that we have got. Most of the businesses are started by people who are there in business, who are there working for a company, did a great job as an employee, developed a lot of confidence, who have a lot of expertise, who are ambitious, who are very hardworking, who have burned their midnight oil, and then they decide, I'm going to do something on my own. Excellent idea. Such people should do. But what they should do is they should go to a professional and take professional advice, create a good business model, understand the nuances of the business, how the various elements are there, and then they should enter, understand what are the capabilities which are required to do a business. Most first-time entrepreneurs do everything themselves. They come in the morning, open the office, to late night, closing the office and going, and then they work for the employees. The employees very rarely work for them. This is where the problem occurs. If you take a professional view of whatever you are doing. Sanjay, I don't know, what is your specialty, Mr. Sanjay?
I'm into process orientation.
You are in process management. Excellent. So you start a company. What happens? You not only handle process, you handle finance, you handle accounts, you handle customer relations, you handle sales, you handle everything. How is it possible? You have spent your life in process management. So what you should do, you should ensure that while you take care of process, you get people capable enough for the other things. For that, a certain amount of resources is going to be required. Plan, take advice of people who can help you by getting those resources. Those people who are experts in sales and marketing and accounts and audit. That is not what people do. That is the reason why they keep on struggling. One of the key elements of corporate development, organizational development, is a disengagement by the promoter. At one stage, the promoter has to disengage and hand over the reins of the various activities to specialists in those activities. But unfortunately, in India, that does not happen. Call it fear, call it passion, call it whatever you want. In the process, they put themselves and what they represent, the organization, into a quandary. Does it answer your question, Mr. Sanjay?
Yes, sir. Yes. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Arun, good morning. This is Velusamy. I
Yes,
really
Mr.
appreciate
Velusamy.
the kind of insights you have thrown into business model canvas. May I ask a question, sir?
Please, sir. Please, most welcome.
So you spoke about three core business types of product innovation business, customer relationship business, and infrastructure business. My question is, when you talk about product innovation and infrastructure, yes, I agree. There is a physical structure is required. But what do you refer to customer relationship business? Because in any business, either you sell a product or you sell a service. Either way, you need to have something. So when you talk about customer relationship business, what you're referring to? Thank you.
You see, there is no pure business there. Customer relationship business also might have product innovation in it. It might also have, infrastructure in it. Infrastructure will also have customers. It will also have products, because a service is also a product. All these things will be there, but there are some which are purely customer relationship business. For example, telecom. Can Airtel run without having a huge customer base? Is it not necessary for Airtel to retain its customer base if it has to survive? Hospitals, healthcare business. That is another area which runs purely on customer relationship. Let me give you an example. You are from Tamil Nadu, Mr. Velusamy?
Yes, sir.
In Chennai, there is a hospital called, in Raipuram, the diabetic hospital, MB Diabetic Hospital, right?
Yeah.
Now, MB Diabetic Hospital, I'm a patient there. I'm treated by MB Diabetic Hospital. Every 15 days, I get a telephone call. Are you checking your blood sugar? Are you doing this? Why are they doing that? Because there are n number of diabetologists in Chennai. If they don't retain me, I will go to someone else. So you see, here is a business which is driven purely by customer relations. Amazon. Amazon is a platform business, mainly an infrastructure platform business, right? But they keep full track of you. And when supposing I have purchased coffee today, they know that this gentleman purchases coffee once in 20 days. At the end of 80th day, I will receive a mail that, do you require coffee? They are using predictive data analytics to be able to identify which customer wants what, and they reach out to him. Let us take another example of Facebook, or what, all these digital platforms. They keep throwing up what you go and Google, let us say water filters, Kent RO water filter, or postcard snacks. You go to Facebook, you open Facebook, you will see a postcard advertisement, you see a Kent RO filter advertisement. Why does it happen? Customer relationship is extremely important. And businesses which are mainly dependent upon repeat purchase are customer relationship businesses. Huge base of customers are customer relationship businesses. Does it answer you, Mr. Velusamy?
Yeah, partly, sir. Still, I believe that all type of business, either you sell a product or service, customer relationship, behavioral pattern analysis, or kind of extension part of your promotions or marketing. Anyway, it has given me a different perspective. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Velusamy. Thank you.
Sir, in this regard, sir, you had already mentioned, sir. Arun, sir, you had already mentioned customer acquisition, retention, and growth. You had already mentioned. That is part of this, customers.
Yes. Anybody else, please?
Yes, sir. Sir, good afternoon. I am Jayashekhar.
Yes, Mr. Jayashekhar. Tell me.
I need some information about. We are going to do some from agriculture department, agriculture product. So in that, how it is reach customer relation or consumer. So can you help in this case?
Can
Or
you please
agricultural
be
products.
more clear? You are into agricultural products, right? What sort of a products?
Yes, yes, yes.
What sort of a
Agricultural
product?
products.
So
Like
you,
groundnuts,
yes,
ginger,
yes.
like that. Yeah, yeah.
Now, you
Fatty.
want to know how customer relationship is important in this.
Yes, yes, exactly.
Very good. You see, let us say you are, you can harvest 1 ton of groundnut every season. Okay, Mr. Jayashankar? Jayashankar, let us
Yes, sir.
assume,
Yeah, yeah.
let us
Correct,
assume
correct.
for a few moments that you can harvest 1 ton of groundnut every season. You
Okay.
currently have customers to the tune of consuming 50% of that production.
Okay.
Now you have got 2 challenges in front of you. How to retain these customers so that 50% guaranteed sales is there? How to scale up my data, customer base so that I can sell the balance 50%? Isn't that right?
Exactly. Correct.
Now, if you are not going to have in place a customer lock-in strategy wherein this 50% will not leave you and go, you will lose even this 50% sales.
Exactly. Correct.
So first thing is you have to create a strategy by which you have to lock in this 50%. For that, first and foremost, you have to develop a relationship with them. I am sure you have statistics and data about who these customers are who are purchasing from you. Reach out to them, establish a relationship with them, find out at what interval they are purchasing from you, create a tool by which you will be able to proactively reach them when they will be requiring the groundnut. This is one aspect of it.
Okay.
Second aspect of it is try to understand the profile of your current customer. Who is the type of customer who is purchasing from you? Try to extrapolate it into the market segment that you currently are operating in and find out who are those who match this profile who are not purchasing from you.
Super. Correct.
And how
Exactly.
to reach them, how to reach
Right.
them, reach
Okay.
them so that for the balance 50% you can get
Mhm.
the business.
Right. Good.
Does it answer your question, Mr. Jayashankar?
Yeah, yeah, yes. Any consultancy is there, sir, for find out which segment I have to go and search the things and develop our
Yes, there are a lot
product?
of consultants. You see, I don't do consultancy, but I have a team of consultants with me
Yes.
who
Yes.
are very,
Can you
very
suggest?
accomplished. I will definitely suggest. I have got a number of them here also. Like we have got Mr. Rajendra Sapre, who is a very leading consultant from Pune. He's into Internet of Things. He can help you with predictive analysis. And then we have got Mr. Atul Vij, who was a lead consultant with McKinsey, the world's #1 consulting firm in the US. He is from Delhi. He has got a big consultancy. He's a turnaround artist. He can help you people. And then we have got, I've got Mr. and Mrs. Bakshi from Bombay. They are into very big consultancy for MSMEs, and they are also into manufacturing of pharmaceutical machinery. And then there is Ms. Sumarao from Bangalore, who is a consultant for startups. You can reach out to me. I will guide you to them. I don't provide any consultancy. I'm too old, because I don't believe
How
in
can I
taking on
approach
something.
any contact detail?
My number is there, 93840978666.
Okay. I'll
Mr.
call
Gopi
you
knows me
and
very
get
well.
the
You can talk to Mr. Gopi, take my number from him. You will reach out to me. I will introduce you to these people. I will introduce you to them.
Sure.
They will be willing to give you the necessary consultancy. Absolutely no issue.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much.
Okay, Mr. Jayashankar. Thank you. Where are you from,
Yes,
Mr. Jayashankar?
Thank you.
Where are you from?
I am from Chennai.
சென்னையில எங்க இருக்கீங்க?
Tamil Nadu, Chennai. Yes.
எங்க இருக்கீங்க சென்னையில?
Adambakkam. Adambakkam.
Very good.
Adambakkam.
Okay.
But my company is in Tambaram.
Tambaram. Very good. All the best, Mr. Jayashankar.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
very much.
sir.
Thank you.
Yes, anyone else?
Yes, sir.
Mr.
I have a
Vish.
question, sir.
Yes. Just a minute. Yes, so somebody else wants to ask.
Mr. Vish, go on, sir.
Yes.
So in this business model, I am Atul Vij. Thanks for the introduction which you gave just now. In the last few years, several things I have seen have changed. People have started to share whatever was a asset for them earlier, like manufacturing space, they are not sharing. There's certain resources they are sharing. So how could we integrate something like a business model canvas running of clusters together? Because like you said, that we use experts from gig. In terms of whatever IT resources we have, we cannot afford to have all the IT resources talent inside. So we have started to use experts from outside. How do we get in clusters in this business model canvas approach?
You see, what is a cluster, Mr. Atul? Cluster is nothing but reinventing the wheel. You are doing nothing else but reinventing the wheel. Cluster is a highly sophisticated form of bartering. Let us say during the COVID pandemic, raw material went into a serious crisis. Okay, so you and Mr. Gopi, let us say we have 3 industries, very similar. We are all into plastics manufacturing. Let us assume for a few moments. I have got some raw material, you have got some raw material, Mr. Gopi has got some raw material, but he doesn't have all the raw material necessary to manufacture the plastic items which is manufacturing. You don't have all, I don't have all. But when we form a cluster, we share it. Whatever surplus is there with each of us, we help each other, and in the process, we all grow. That is what has come to be known as cooperation. Cluster formation is nothing but driving industry in a cooperative manner. We each of us compete, but at the same time cooperate also. Let me give you another example. When SmithKline Beecham launched Augmentin is clavulanic acid with amoxicillin. There was a severe, opposition from the market to this product. It was very costly. It was 64 rupees per tablet. The industry was not in the mood, or rather, the climate was not good enough for the product to be taken. So what did they do? They gave the same technology to Boots and told them also to co-market in the name of amoxiclav or some other name. Both the companies, both the multinationals launched the product. When the industry, the doctors saw that both the products were coming in, they developed confidence that this must be a good product. Otherwise, why 2 different companies are coming in? And in the process, the market took off and they became the leaders in the antibiotic market. See, again, you see, in many of these places, you have got, this, what do you call it, IT parks. What is this IT park? It is a type of cluster formation. Maybe not exactly, you might not be terming it as cluster, but ultimately the biggest advantage of having similar industries in one point is that you get benefit out of the same employee type rotating in the same place. Each can help the other. You can have official clusters, you can have official associations of the same type of industry working together towards a common objective, or you can have the you have the pharma parks. Pharma companies require a certain environmental clearance and approval, which is very similar. So if you have all the pharma companies manufacturing units in one place, it is very easy to handle the clearance and all the companies get the benefit. That is another form of cluster. And as you rightly said, Mr. Atul, during the pandemic period, there has been huge disruption. That is where the segment of business partners comes in. All these disruptions can be overcome. All the business models can be corrected if you are in a position to identify the correct business partners for your business. No business can have all the capabilities required to run it in itself. You will have to look outside. And when you look outside, when you want something from someone, you have to be willing to give what the other person wants. It can never be, as in Tamil we say, that will not work. If I come to your house and I want something from you, when you come to my house, I should be willing to give you something. It has to be a give and take. You scratch my back, I scratch yours. That's what business partnership all about.
Thank you, sir. I could understand. Yes, sir. In the consulting roles, I've seen that consultant has also become somebody who gets people together, because now the entrepreneurs, CEOs have become more ready to dissolve the earlier boundaries. So if a consultant suggests for this particular tool, hire them, or this particular tool, use their services, they're all open for that. So this sort of an informal cluster I've seen happening several places. So what you're saying,
Yes.
I has elaborated this for. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Shivraman,
Yes,
go on.
Mr. Shivraman, Mr. Shivraman. Yes, Mr.
Yeah,
Shivraman.
good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
It was
Good
a very good session, and the energy level you transfer is something phenomenal. I have a question, sir. It was not a question, more of a validation thing. You said about the employees, retaining the employees. So what we do is we follow two methods in our company. One is the key employees. We give them good knowledge, good remuneration, and lot of benefits what MNCs normally give. But the second one is, you said that if employee going to a competitor, it will be not a key for the success. But what we do is we give abundant knowledge, so that even if they move out of the company, they go to the MNCs, so that they can be a seed. I mean, even though they got a lot of knowledge from our company, they will be our client at one point of time. So this is the method we do. So is that the correct method, or is there any
Absolutely
other?
right method. Absolutely right method. You know, it pays to develop your employees.
Correct.
For two main reasons. You know, as someone rightly said, a person was focusing a lot on developing and training an employee. So one of his friends asked him, what happens if he leaves you and goes? He asked, what happens if I don't train, he stays with me? So you see, when you train him, he's a benefit for you as long as he's there with you. When he goes, he takes definitely all the training and capability that you have imparted to him, to that company, no doubt about it. But at the same time, he creates a goodwill for you in that company. And people say, yes, Mr. Shivaraman's company, employees are damn good, you know, they know their job. So your company gets a name, you get a name. Second thing is, if they go to a very big company, as a downstream vendor, you could always be considered at a later stage, because that company knows that you value capability, you value quality. And the most important part is, for every one person you lose by creating an expert, 10% you will not lose, because they will be obliged to you for having given them the opportunity to develop themselves, and they will continue working for you. Other than developing people, there is no choice. That's, you don't build companies. As someone rightly said, you know, you create monkeys, you will be required to give only peanuts. But if you want professionals, you got to give them money, you got to give them the environment, you got to give them the training, and above all, you got to give them the opportunity to use all that you have given. If you're open, Mr. Shivaraman, there is no way, you know, that you will definitely succeed. Let me not use a negative word, you will definitely succeed.
Thank you, sir. It was more of a validation for us. Thanks for your feedback.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Rajendra?
Yeah. Sir, thanks for introducing me to this group. Just one question I have is that the model which you explained right now, is this a much sophisticated version of the balanced scorecard method, or is it complementary to that?
This is definitely complementary to that, and this is a very fundamental, it is a basic model. See, there are 17 models, each referring to a business model based upon different types of business. But this is the most fundamental model. And, you know, for a startup or an MSME, this is more than enough to, you see, people who start MSMEs, Mr. Rajendra, are brilliant people, very courageous, very enthusiastic. But what happens is, with courage, enthusiasm, and brilliance, one more thing happens. You know, that is called rigidity. Sometimes they are very wedded to their thought process. And that is where the problem occurs. That is why, you know, disengagement is, you know, thought of as a very essential element of a corporate growth. At which stage does the entrepreneur disengage himself and allow professional side? This is a fundamental model. And this is very much aligned with the balanced scorecard. You can work with them simultaneously.
Thank you, sir. Actually, this is much more of an kind of an eye-opener in the sense that what all things, as a leader, actually, someone who drives the MSME or any business for that matter must look at. So this actually gives a quite comprehensive picture of that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And another thing is that whenever we think of any technology like IoT or whichever technology, I think this basic model we could actually think of as to how to enable each of these segments through technology.
Yes. See, today technology, as technology is becoming important, Mr. Rajendra, it is becoming essential, that you understand the use of technology in each of these areas. How can IoT be useful in identifying customer segment by extrapolating the current customer segment to the untapped customer segment? How it can be used in optimizing the channel? How it can be used in ensuring that the customer is logged in? See, all these things are very important.
Indeed. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Ms. Pooja, please go on.
Yeah, a very good afternoon to this august gathering here, and thank you, Arun, Mr. Arun, for this wonderful introduction to this group too. So, sir, some of the query that I had was partially answered in your response to Mr. Rajendra Sapre. So I was wondering that this canvas, how it is related to the organization's life cycle, at what stage of maturity it is. At what stage of maturity of an organization, like in a startup?
Yes.
So so what is that inflection point it would be with organization if you're looking at disengagement now, because you've reached that maturity stage in an organization? And
there is nothing called a maturity stage. You see, there is nothing called a maturity stage in any organization. Because as an organization starts maturing, it starts growing branches, which will all be independent on its own. Tatas have got, see, it's a diversified model that Tatas have. They are into consultancy, they are into IT sector, they are into aviation, they are into steel, they are into FMCG, they are into automobiles. And you see, each one is coming under the Tata Trust possibly, but then each one of them is a different entity. And a model is something, a business model is something, a tool, a management tool to define how you create, distribute, and capture value. There is no stage at which you can say that this is not applicable. It will be applicable at every stage of an organization. Because at every stage, what you're essentially doing is creating value, distributing value, capturing value, because that is what the whole purpose is. And for all these 9 elements are a must. At which stage of a company's maturity level will customer not be required? So you see, there is nothing like that. A business model is not a business plan. We should not confuse ourselves with that. The business model is, it talks to you as to how you create, distribute, and capture value. That's what the thing is. The desirability, the feasibility, and the viability. The desirability is, defined by the 4 segments of customer segment, value proposition, channel, and your customer relationship. The feasibility is decided by the resources required to do the business, the activities towards which those resources are going to be directed, the partners with whom you are going to be conducting those activities and creating the value, delivering the value, and capturing the value. That is your feasibility. Whether you are able to make adequate revenue and keep the cost within control so that you can spend money for all these activities, still retain something for your profit, is what the viability portion of it is. What Alexander Osterwald has done is he has segregated all these into understandable components so that you will be able to have a bird's eye view of what you are doing and by modifying and tweaking that particular segment which is relevant, conduct your business in a more sensible manner, given the context in which you find yourself in on that particular moment.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, that's certain perspective, because all of us do deal with this question that should we look at other options now beyond this. It's covering, it's all encompassing, covering all aspects. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Anyone else has the question, please?
It's 12:30. If you don't
Yes, sir.
mind, can we call it a day? Because I've
Yes,
got
sir.
another
Yes,
program.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. We'll call it. We'll call it, please. It was an inspiring, warm, and motivating session, sir.
Thank you.
Your views were clear, practical, and gave insights into the power of a business model canvas. We all had a lot of takeaways from this session and look forward to working together with you, sir. Thank you very much on behalf of AABN.
Thanks a lot. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Good day to you all, friends. Have a nice Sunday.